Hi, I'm Leanne Ely. I'm a nutritionist, a New York Times best-selling author, and some people even say I'm a life coach. I started the Daily Dish Show to share my story, my truth, and my journey to vibrancy, and to inspire others to do the same. Because it's all about grit, perseverance, and finding a way despite the odds. It's about embracing the whole woman, not just the parts that are easy to love, and feeding her heart, mind, body, and soul. But I found that this isn't just my story, it's your story too. It's go time. This is the Daily Dish. So when I'm talking about courage, this was something that I wrote, and in 2018, my word of the year was unstoppable. And let me just tell you something, I did not live it very well. I lived mostly in fear, but I was mustering the courage. I was mustering the thinking better about myself. In 2018, was it 2018? Maybe it was 2017. I did my very first Take Back Your Life workshop, and I didn't believe anybody would come. And having the courage to put it together, to even write the email, came because in 2016, I guess maybe it was 2018, sorry about this, but it was on the cusp of my 60th birthday. And I had this notion that it was time to get out of the kitchen, that I cooked enough chicken on TV and, done enough cooking. I'd done all of that. I had shown up, and I had put it out. And I had the tricks, I had the recipes, I had the plans, I had the menus, I had the cookbooks, I had all of it. And I know it, I understand it, and I think it's lovely, and it's one of my favorite things that I know how to do. I feel confident and competent in the kitchen. But my life is not all about the skillet. My life is not all about the stovetop. And it occurred to me, it was a cosmic 2x4. That, I was on the cusp of my 60th, a little freaking out, like, holy cow, how'd that come up so quickly? And I started to think about, legacy and what that meant. And I remember back in the day, I was a little bit past that year. A lot of times women were given hope chests. That was one of the things I told my mom, I want a hope chest, because isn't that what girls do? They get hope chests, or I saw them in movies. And I guess that my generation, they kind of stopped. All of they stopped all that hope chest stuff. But I thought it was such a neat thing. A cedar, and you open it, and there you have linens, and you have handwork and all this. I mean, it's a beautiful tradition. And I thought, boy, I really want that. Never did get that. But I saw that as like when I was thinking about turning 60, I didn't get the hope chest. I didn't get the prince on the horse and the, marriage that lasted forever. I didn't get any of that stuff. I got two beautiful children. I got little sparks, little seeds along the way that taught me different things on purpose and for purpose. As I look back, I thought, well, why am I sitting here with a child who is crying out of control with these ear infections? And I've told you that story before, of just crumpling up that prescription and saying no more, and making a different way, figuring it out. Because remember, everything is figure outable, even the hard stuff. And why did all these things happen? And it started me on this nutrition journey. It started me on thinking differently. It started me on doing things differently and looking for a more excellent way. Because what I was being handed just didn't fit. And it was going against everything I believed. It was, my knowing was going, no, can't do it. This is not right. And I wasn't even plugged in yet. So I looked back on all of that. And then in 2018, when I was saying, I want to not leave a legacy, I want to live a legacy. And if any of this resonates with you, let me know what you think. And we got hundreds of emails back with, oh my gosh, yes, me too. And yes, please, and share more. And this was great, and all of that. And I kind of played with it for a while, but you know what I did? And can any of you relate to this? I sat in my own fear cave of thinking, Well, I'm just not good enough for that. Nobody wants to listen to anything that I have to say. And I don't have hundreds of thousands of followers. I'm not an influencer. I'm not this and I'm not that. I went through the whole list of why this shouldn't be. And yet, I asked God to show me. I asked him to show me what my purpose was besides, menus and all of this other stuff. I asked him for that. I wrote a letter that was a little risky and put it out there a little bit. And then what happened? All these women came back and said, yeah, let's go with that. Go with that. And then I moved here. Things changed, things shifted. And you know where I was? I was in this place of thinking, well, let's go. Let's see what happens. And here we are 2 years later now, 2 years later, doing the daily dish and understanding that this is how we move the needle in our lives. This is how we get off the carousel of crazy. This is how we start living as God intended us to live, in a way that's uniquely ours, vibrantly ours, in a way that you get to customize it, I get to customize it, and we all get to celebrate each other. Isn't that the way we should be living? Isn't that the way it should be? Getting our eyeballs for just a minute off that stupid scale that's sitting in your bathroom, for just a minute off what's going on in your closet and all that. How about instead we step into the very best versions of ourselves? And you want to hear something that I read this weekend? And I almost fell out of my chair. I was laughing so hard. And this woman said, and I can't even remember her name, to be honest. She's this weight loss expert. And she said, a lot of times what happens, in order for your body to lose weight, your body has to heal first. I wonder if she listens to my show, because that's exactly it, And we are healing our lives, We have had our eyeballs peeled on the measuring tape. Not so much. Most people go crazy about the stupid bathroom scale, which is mostly inaccurate. But those are the numbers that determine whether you're going to have a good or bad day. Those are the numbers that are going to determine what your worth is. And I'm not saying this is correct. I'm just saying that this is how we've been conditioned. And I'm pulling the plug out of that because that's the carousel of crazy, all of it. And I've stopped weighing myself for the most part. I could just get on the scale every once in a while to see what's going on. And, it's surprising and interesting, especially when my clothes start getting smaller or bigger rather. And, my arms are like starting to look stronger and interesting, connecting all of those dots, because when we have the courage to step into who we are instead of being the cultural norm of, hey, girls, let's look like this. Let's have thigh gaps and get into smaller jeans. And it's all about this. And are you ready for bikini season? Somebody wrote me an email that says, I couldn't believe, the subject was line, I couldn't believe I was wearing a bikini or some nonsense like that. And I read her email. I was like, the whole time. And I just wanted to write her back and say, do you know what you're doing to women by talking about this stupid bikini stuff? I mean, listen, I'm going to put a bikini on this summer, but you know why? Just because I can, maybe I can't. Maybe there's going to be somebody out there who goes, oh, you can't put on a bikini, but I'm going to be on my paddleboard doing all kinds of stuff, and I want to get the sun. And you know what else? I don't care what everybody else thinks. And I'm going to just tell you something, that when we get to step into the best part of who we are, the rest of it falls into place, into the priority that it needs to be. That's courage. Because courage is moving beyond the fear. And fear and courage, by the way, are you ready for it? Write it down. They're habits. We don't, fear comes from and is fed from whatever garbage you lived in your past or for whatever reason. We all have a story. And I'm not dismissing your story. I'm just saying not to live in the old story. And the same thing goes with courage, because if you make a decision that you're going to start doing courageous things, it means you're willing to take a little bit of a risk and you're willing to step a little bit outside of the fear cave and go instead to the place of approving of yourself and not having everybody else's disapproval. That's huge. That's what courage does. Courage says, I approve of you, flaws and all. Fear says, I don't. Fear says, you are not worthy. That's what fear does over and over and over and over and over and over and over again on repeat. And we live these loops in our heads, and we have to actively take a pair of scissors and cut them with courage. That's what those scissors represent. Courage. Courage. So when fear, when it's confronted, when we confront the fear, what is fear doing to us? It's disapproving of us, saying you're not enough, saying you're not worthy, saying it's not now, maybe later, when you're bikini worthy, when you have lost this much weight, when you fit in this pair of jeans, when you putting off your life and not living it. And I'm just going to say this right now, and I believe this with my whole heart, that when we do that, you know what we're basically saying? Our lives are not worthy right now. And what does that say to the Creator who gave you breath in the first place? What does that say to him? And I said, don't make me tell that nursing bra story again, but it's that truth of going to the place of 100% acceptance, warts and all, and having the courage to put on the bathing suit, having the courage to be that woman and do it anyway. The do it anyway is the courage. The do it anyway says the risk is worth it because I'm worth it. And you know what the do it anyway does? It breaks the curse of fear. It breaks its back. Fear can't live with that kind of stuff. Fear can't live with courage and valor hanging over its head. Good to you. I love you. I'm bragging when I say I swam in my bathing suit at my very heaviest. Very good for you, Lucy. Of course you did. Amen. And I have to say that oftentimes what we're looking for in order to ditch the fear is we're looking for the security that it's okay to do so. Well, who am I to give you permission? I'm giving you the same permission I gave myself. So if you need someone to give you permission, I'm here to give it to you. But really, you are the one who needs to give yourself permission, because in this life, there's no security. There isn't. There's only opportunity, and opportunity comes from the yes. You're right? Have you noticed that? Opportunity comes from putting that bathing suit on anyway and saying, all right, that's what happens. That's what happens. And I will tell you this, and I know this is going to be hard for a lot of you to hear, but if you're not a little bit afraid, if it's not a little bit hard, if it doesn't, kind of maybe push a button or two that you kind of go, I don't know, you're not trying hard enough. Truth. Because it's always about going to the next level. Not that we're striving for perfection, not that but we're sharpening our axe continually. There are other trees, and we're on a mission in this life, not to just sit and vegetate, not to just be in limbo land, not to just be, treading water, but to go places and to do things and to help to be the hands and feet. We can't do that if we're just sitting there. Sitting on your butt is like, why would we do that? Why would we do that? It is a waste of flippin' time, and your time is precious. We talked about time last week. We made the remark of saying, holy cow, we don't know how much time we have left. And every moment has to be cherishable, even the stuff that we hate, even the wiping of butts and the doing hard things and crying and dealing with stuff that's hard. That's even cherishable, because it shows our humanity, it shows our heart, it shows the love, and it helps to expand this beautiful part of ourselves. Brave always goes forward. Fear doesn't. Fear either sits back or goes backwards. Oftentimes backwards into a fear loop, the fear cave, oftentimes backwards into the place of just not believing enough in yourself or in your circumstances, or that God's got this all figured out. You just have to be in it to do it. And success in this life, whether it's whatever it is that you're trying to do, it demands courage. It demands courage, because if you stand behind the skirt of fear, and use that as an excuse and use that as a reason for not going forward, you're missing the calling on your life. You're missing the vibrancy that you could be living right now. And you're missing out on opportunity left, right, and center. We can't isolate. We have to connect. We can't shrink away and say, well, this is why, and these are all my things, because courage is all about stepping up. Fear of failure is overcome only through courage. And I wrote that, this is from my whole thing, I am unstoppable. Because nothing's going to stop me. This is from 2018, I guess, when it was, going through this whole thing of understanding just how the contrast between fear and courage, I believe, those are opposites. Maybe not technically, but in my mind they are, because there's two different ways that you can choose to live your life. It can be fear-based or courage-based. And courage doesn't mean that you're going to go out there and wrestle lions, or, bungee jump or do anything dumb like that. Courage just means that you're able to step away from yourself for a minute and look at the greater good, see the big picture of what it is that you want for your life. That's what vibrancy is about. Because vibrancy isn't going to be in the safe places. It's going to be in the risky places. Vibrancy is going to be in that doing things that are just a little bit risky. And I think, I'm looking at all of you here, and I'm seeing so many of you, people that I have seen, women that I've loved from afar, mostly, and seeing them come out of their shells just a little bit, making steps toward connecting just a little bit more and being a little bit more vocal and being a little bit more there and saying what you want, having a voice in your life. That's all courageous stuff. It's all to be commended, and it makes all the difference in the world. And then, the last thing that I wrote here, and this is from today's, and this is funny because this is all these, years later, facing our fear creates courage. And that's the creator of courage. We talk a lot about motivational, what comes first, motivational or motivation or confidence. And I think it's courage that comes first before all of it. It's saying goodbye to the fear, and then the confidence comes, and then the motivation to create more of it comes. Because it is a lovely, magical momentum that we can create just with these thoughts, this mindset thing. So courage is doing something that frightens you, even a little bit, and strength in the face of pain and grief. I think about that, strength in the face of pain and grief. And I will say to every single woman who's listening to me right now, how many women do you know who've faced pain? Who faced grief? I mean, pain can mean a whole lot of different things. Same with grief. The grief could be mourning a relationship that didn't develop in the way you thought it was going to, or not getting a job, or losing somebody, or a cat, or or losing opportunity, or whatever it is. But grief comes, and it sits, and we feel it. Pain comes in all different types of form, physically, emotionally, mentally, all of it. Nobody has gotten through this life unscathed by it. It's all happened to us. So I look at that and I see that this is all immensely overcomable, which doesn't mean, we've talked about grief too, because my mom's birthday and all of that, and her anniversary of her death is coming up in just a few days. And all of that it doesn't mean that you get to escape grief and you get to replace the one that you loved or anything with something else. It means that painful part will coexist now with new memories, with new love, with new things to fill your heart. And that the grief, it will still live. And you'll have a moment from time to time where you'll cry and whatever. But it's putting it, my friend Christina Rasmussen calls it the waiting room. And if you haven't read her, if you've suffered from any kind of loss, whether it's divorce or any kind of loss, really, read it. It's called Second Firsts. Second Firsts. Firsts. Christina Rasmussen. Sorry, I can't even say her name. Dear friend of mine. I love her. Beautiful soul. And boy, did she teach me a lot about grieving and really how to grieve in a way that's courageous and grieve in a way that we can properly put things into perspective, you know, because the grief doesn't leave. It needs to go to the waiting room, and you just need to read her book to find out about that. So if that's you, make that choice. So when you look at courage and you see this is what courage is, discouragement is the loss of confidence. It's the loss of enthusiasm. It's the disheartenedness that we feel. And we've all been discouraged from time to time. It's the choice of where we choose to live, though. In this place of discouragement, in this disheartened place, is that where we make our beds? In this place where there's a loss of confidence, is that where we say, well, that just shows who I am, and this is my new definition of me? Or do we understand that discouragement happens, and now we take a deep breath in and say, now how do I get to this place of courage? What is my next step? And for that, I don't have any more journal stuff to share with you, except that I know this, that when you look inside and you start looking at the person that you are and the person that you are intended to be, because you understand and you know in your heart of hearts, in your beautiful self, that you're here on purpose and for purpose. When you understand that breath was intentionally put into those beautiful nostrils of yours and put you here on this earth right now, today, to be with these women, to be so hand-selected, chosen. Oh, I need a little Jema here. I need me some Sarah and some Lucy and Nancy. Bring these women in. They're an important part of my whole big plan. When we start to live from that perspective, then it's immensely figure-outable. Are you kidding me? Of course it is. It's just a matter of now looking for it. Looking for the plan. It's there. It's in front of you. He doesn't leave us without direction, you know? He leaves us with a lot of smarts, with beautiful people to surround yourself with all these books, with an internet, with everything. And it's all deeply embedded inside of your beautiful self. It is. And inside of you is that seed of courage, if you will just water that, not this other stuff. Water the courage seed and allow that to take form. Allow that to bloom fully in your life. Because this is the way that we find our vibrancy and we find our place, and we start to connect all these dots and put this beautiful puzzle together. And can you imagine living a life like that? Can you imagine? It's there for the asking, if you choose it. And I don't know about you, but that's where I'm going. That's my whole focus entirely. What do you think of that? Well, there you go. A little something from my journal. And poor Jenny, I know that poor Amber, when she gets my show notes, she's going to say, I don't know how to make heads or tails out of this, because it's from my journal, literally from my journal. And if this meant anything to you and you decide to share it, that means everything to me. Peace be with you.
Thank you for joining me today. You can find me on TikTok for daily tips to help support your most vibrant life. And remember, you are the author of your own story. Until next time.